rapidly accelerating technology of the modern world has led to a failure to recognize the consequences of technological decisions. As a result, technology has developed its own ethic of expediency and efficiency. What can be done must be done in the most efficient way. The modern automobile is a symbol of this technological ethic. Meditation on the automobile, what it is used for and what it stands for, leads us to the heart of contemporary American problems. We are wasting our natural resources, as well as those of underdeveloped countries, to fill our roads and cities with a senseless congestion of machinery. If technology remained in service to what is higher than itself, reason, man, God, it might fulfill some of those functions that are now mythically attributed to it. But it seems to have become autonomous, existing only for itself. By imposing its own irrational demands upon man, it threatens to destroy him.
Floodlight. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! It's incredible that they try and put an observer in the last 2 minutes. 25 seconds. This team, number 33, is starting first. North. 8 seconds. 5,
43 experimental low-pollution vehicles left here this morning on a race across country that'll take them over 3,600 miles of public highway. The race, sponsored by MIT here and Caltech in Pasadena. 32 universities have entered cars, which includes modified internal combustion engines, burning leaded and unleaded gas, propane and natural gas, diesel fuel and alcohol, along with electric and steam cars, electric hybrid cars, and turbines. Their first stop is Toronto.
2, 1, go! 8 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! 10 seconds.
The Clean Air Car Race had begun. Because it was a clean air race, the most important factor was the reduction of exhaust emissions. Prior to the race, each vehicle was tested in the Ford Mobile Emissions Lab for its tailpipe pollution. During cross-country travel, the vehicles will also be tested during a day-long stopover in Detroit, and again at the termination in Pasadena, to determine whether there was any degradation in the exhaust emission control systems. The importance of maintaining successful exhaust emission control is reflected in the formula used to score the vehicles. Since the race was held on public highways, the cars had to meet certain performance standards, including braking, acceleration, noise, and maneuverability. The cars were driven through an urban driving cycle, a course designed to simulate typical city driving patterns. In addition, the cars had to meet minimum passenger requirements and have the capability of driving 60 miles in 90 minutes without refueling.
Information here as to how accurate, a measurement along the route or during a 100-mile trip, Pasadena area.
At evening meetings during the week of pre-race testing, the race rules were thoroughly reviewed and discussed by all participants. The organizing committee assigned neutral observers to each team to score the individual legs of the race. Finally, after 8 days of pre-race activity at MIT, the race began. Detroit, home of the largest industry in America, the manufacture of motor vehicles and parts is first in sales, first in employment, and first in payrolls. Automobile manufacturing and distribution and automotive transportation provide 15 million jobs, 28% of private non-farm employment.
Detroit. 37 Clean Air cars left Toronto this morning en route to Motor City. Upon arrival, they will undergo emissions testing at Ford, GM, Chrysler, Ethel Corporation, and the National Air Pollution Control Administration Test Center. The test will determine how clean the Clean Air cars really are.
Testing the cars and trying to approximate an urban driving pattern and measure the pollution that comes off or comes out of the exhaust in terms of grams of pollution per mile. The major pollutants that are associated with the automobile are carbon monoxide, which we're all familiar with, the gaseous hydrocarbons, and the oxides of nitrogen. In addition to this, we're concerned about the particulate matter, especially the lead that's currently used in automotive fuels. The hydrocarbons and oxides of nitrogen are the two gaseous pollutants which undergo change in the atmosphere in the presence of sunlight and cause the pollution compounds which are known as oxidants, which cause the typical burning of the eyes and the nose and so forth that we experience in the Los Angeles basin. Air pollution has a very marked effect when it reaches severe levels, especially on people who have respiratory disease or have respiratory impairment such as emphysema, as well as heart disease. Many of the pollutants that occur cause visible plant damage, especially the oxidants that are produced in the photochemical reactions. So there are both health effects and economic effects, if you will, to agriculture and materials, as well as the aesthetic effects of reduced visibility and just general well-being.
The Clean Air car race skirted Chicago on its way to the University of Illinois. 41 cars are still in the race. Race officials report the electric cars are starting to lag behind. The batteries just can't store enough energy for long distances.
The most exotic class of vehicles in the race, the hybrids. University of Toronto's team captain, Doug Venn.
When I was visiting the SAE conference in Detroit last January, Dr. Thornton from MIT presented a technical paper in which he mentioned a clean air car race to be held this summer. So I entered the University of Toronto, came back, told them, and they were quite taken by the idea. But after discussing it at some length, we realized that the time element was very critical. So we immediately started to do some thinking about what could be done quickly and effectively. And we came up with this propane electric hybrid idea, which has turned out to be quite successful so far. For our propane source of power, we have a Z28 302 cubic inch Camaro engine, which we have converted to the use of propane fuel. And we're using this in conjunction with two 12 kilowatt electric motors. Now, we can operate in 4 different modes. Eventually, eventually this could have pretty good commercial application because, number one, it's so flexible. We can run the 4 different modes of operation. If we run out of propane fuel, for instance, then we still have the electric reserve. This makes it ideal for us for a research vehicle because it does give us such a variation of testing facilities. We're not in this race as such to beat anybody. We're in this race to make a point of being involved in pollution control and making the general public aware of the problems of pollution. And I think these are the two principally most important goals. And as far as I'm concerned, everybody that enters this race is a winner.
Champaign, Illinois. The Clean Air Car Race arrived at the Illini campus last night and left before dawn this morning on its way to Oklahoma City. The race is still accident-free, and according to race officials, there have been no major breakdowns except for electric cars.
The internal combustion engine was well represented by Wayne State University. The team modified this standard Ford Capri by installing a V8 engine with various pollution control devices, including catalytic mufflers.
I think it's a hell of a grind. We usually spend, 8 to 12 hours a day on the road. We come in, we have to put the car on display for 3 or 4 hours. We get done with that. We have to go over and get our dorm room, go out and get something to eat, have a quick strategy meeting, get to bed about 12 o'clock, then we have to get up at 4 or 5 the next morning. We thought we'd get a little more free time than this. We thought we'd, get a lot more time off at night, much lower average speeds on the road. I think it's too bad because the way the race schedule was set up, I think it made it impossible for something like an electric vehicle or this turbine truck or something exotic to ever win it. We are very concerned about automobile pollution, and we have conceived a car that we think is a good answer to the problem, and we wanted to build the car and go out and win the race to prove that our concept was right.
All the improvements were engineering applications of existing technology. In addition, the car had the best overall road performance during the testing.
Oklahoma City. Big Western barbecue last night at the Cowboy Hall of Fame. The Clean Air Car Race stopped in town on its way to Pasadena, California. Boys left early this morning for Odessa, Texas.
The only turbine in the race was the MIT entry. Utilizing components not designed for automobile use, the turbine demonstrated how potentially interesting the concept is. Turbines have substantially lower pollution emissions. They burn almost any kind of fuel. However, there are problems. One of them is noise.
A real Texas welcome greeted the 1970 Clean Air Car Race last night here in Odessa. The world-famous Chuck Wagon gang fed the weary racing drivers and officials. The students are now on their way to Tucson after spending the night here.
Good morning, Race Information Center.
Golf car batteries are not available at Oklahoma City plant. Sorry.
Oh, 63 is signing out of the race. This is official.
Good morning, Race Information.
Hi, this is Dick Thornton. American Airlines just lost our motor. We're in Seminole, Texas.
All right. What are you doing in Seminole, Texas?
What in the lot?
Number 70 has finally gotten out of Toronto. and is in Detroit today and is undergoing emissions testing at GM. We have a bit of a neck-and-neck race with the electric. As of 12:15 this afternoon, Cornell is in Lebanon, Missouri, just 2 charging stations ahead of Stevens. Georgia Tech is at Gary, Indiana, recharging at the moment.
Well, the steam cars are out of the race. Toronto Hybrid is doing fine. The MIT Hybrid is being towed.
Well, this is car number 64. Not going too well. It's being towed to Oklahoma City.
Information.
Yes, this is entry 66. We're at a gas station.
What
We're
city?
still at the same place.
In Clarence, New York?
Yeah, this is what they're doing. They arranged with the Westinghouse plant in Buffalo to get their engine rebuilt there.
Okay, get some sleep. If they cheat like hell, what can we do?
We're in Ann Arbor impound area, and we're still trying to get the car started.
Ah, Cornell. Where are you?
This is the information center, yes. Okay, now explain to me your situation.
Okay, well, our car has simply vanished into thin air.
This is car number 64. It's the one being towed to Oklahoma City. Yeah, we just wore through a high-pressure hose in the power steering.
Hi, this is car number 20. Was there a bomb at Harvard? A few cars have called in and complained about this butane, and apparently they cannot get up enough pressure to get propane to you there, so there's really nothing we can do about that. You just have to get along as best you can.
Okay, this is Paul Fisher from Odessa, and right now we have the leg 4 scores in the computer.
This is car number 31. Okay. We're in Joplin, Missouri. Beautiful place. The dude took one look at me and wouldn't let me in his car. Okay, we were charging up the car, and the inductor collapsed. And when they turned it off, we blew this diode, which is supposed to withstand 10,000 amp surges. So it just destroyed it. They labored long on the car. They get it all back together. They put in a new diode. They plug it in and it goes.
We don't have any replacement observers. You know,
I thought they were sending another car.
yeah, there's a car coming out, but it's going straight on to Detroit.
Oh.
Listen, you can do a little bit of trusting and get some sleep.
You're in Rantoul? Yeah, Rantoul. What the hell are you doing in Rantoul? We drove straight through. Well, would you come home? I don't want to stay here all night.
We just pulled into Toronto. We're in Detroit now. We're recharging in Kalamazoo.
We're east of Battle Creek, Michigan.
We're in McLean. Hi, this is car 54 in Rantoul. We're in Conway, Missouri.
We're stopped at Lebanon, Missouri.
We are in Carthage, Missouri. We're on the Blue Rider Turnpike.
Duster, University of Arizona's entry in the Clean Air Car Race was the first of more than 33 anti-pollution vehicles across the state line into Tucson yesterday. The race resumes this morning at
There are presently 90 million automobiles operating in the United States. They are producing smog in virtually every major urban area and are responsible for 2/3 of the carbon monoxide, half the hydrocarbon emissions, almost half the nitrogen oxide emissions, and the chief source of lead. In 1965, Congress amended the Clean Air Act to provide for federal control of emissions from new motor vehicles sold in the United States. The first standards set under these amendments applied to 1968 model vehicles. These standards required complete control of crankcase emissions and partial control of exhaust emissions. Beginning with 1970 models, the exhaust standards were tightened. At race time, standards being proposed by Congress would reduce presently allowable emissions by 90%. The automakers say we have learned much in the past few years about how to control emissions from vehicles. We expect to learn more in the next 2 or 3 years. However, unless the science and technology of emission control move ahead much faster than we believe possible, we will not be able to meet the standards prescribed by the bill.
There's been quite a bit of controversy and discussion in the newspaper about the auto industry's participation in this race. Of course, this is what keeps us going, the fact that it's just like organized racing, whether it be drag racing or stock car racing. The boys to beat are the factory. Really, it doesn't make too much difference whether we come from a teaching school or we come from a engineering school. If one of us is able to perfect or develop or show the American public that there is a fast and safe way to reduce air pollution, really the silver or golden chalice that the winner gets at the end of the race means absolutely nothing. People have really accepted us for some value left Boston, people have been waving to us or giving us the peace symbol or thumbs up. And we really hope that those people who acknowledged us are acknowledging us the fact that they realize that air pollution is a problem.
I'd really like to impress upon you the tremendous time that we had going cross country. 7 or 9 cars actually did make the standards. The students who participated and those who accomplished something and those who failed have demonstrated that the student community is perhaps capable of a worthwhile project, that perhaps the university can do something substantial if it takes the time and the effort to put together the people and the manpower and the time to do a project of this sort. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce the winner of the turbine class, Michael Bennett from MIT. This is a special award, and I don't think that it's appropriate to give it to one person. And for that reason, I have to call upon Team Captain Steve Clark of Worcester Polytechnic Institute and Team Captain Douglas Fenn of the University of Toronto. The electric cars, as Craig informed you, had quite a bit of difficulty. And to say that although they were the last cars into Caltech, I don't think they deserve the least position of importance or respect. These guys have weathered quite a bit of harassment, fatigue, irregular conditions, you name it. They were not designed to travel across country at the pace that we set. Electric vehicle technology is not at that stage at this time. On the other hand, I think the 2 cars that did come into Caltech under their own power, that started out from MIT 10 days ago, have demonstrated that it is in fact possible. And to the one team that persisted in its efforts, perhaps more than any other team, I wish to call upon Team Captain Mark Hoffman from Cornell University to accept the first place prize for the electric vehicle. At this time, I would just like to call, first of all, the gaseous fuel class winner, Team Captain Edward Kaleskis from Worcester Polytechnic Institute. I'd like to call forth Team Cap Albert Byer of Stanford University.
Feels that the best all-around effort was by Team 36 from Wayne State.
What did it all prove? In terms of clean air technology, it proved that the present emissions of today's automobiles can be greatly improved. It also proved that there are alternatives to present automobiles. Alternatives like hybrids, electrics, turbines, and maybe even steam cars that are worth imaginative research and development. But most importantly, the clean air race stimulated the universities to tackle a real-world problem which their very silence may have helped to create. An understanding of the magnitude of the air pollution problem was impressed on a body of students who may become the backbone of a new thrust in industry. The exchange of ideas helped crystallize new concepts in the minds of students and faculty. But perhaps most importantly, the university may now become a competitor to industry in the development of a responsible technology.